What's up everybody, my name is Joe Brown and this is Heresy Financial. Today in this video we are going to talk about a couple of things that have recently happened that pretty much destroy two of the biggest bear cases against Bitcoin. And I want to be clear, in this video we're not going to be talking about reasons why Bitcoin may or should or could go up in the future. We're not talking about reasons why Bitcoin will work in the future. We're not talking about reasons why people will use Bitcoin in the future. We're specifically talking about two historical arguments that have been used against Bitcoin, arguments saying Bitcoin will go down, go to zero, people will not use it. We're going to show why they do not apply, why those arguments have recently been crushed. Ready? Let's dive in. All right, so what are the two arguments that we're looking at today? The first one is that Bitcoin will never be able to be used as a medium of exchange. And since being a medium of exchange is an essential part of something being money, the argument then follows that Bitcoin will fail because it's designed to be money, and if it can't be used as a medium of exchange, it's going to fail. And then the second argument that we're going to be looking at today is that China basically controls Bitcoin. And as we're going to see in this video, both of these arguments have recently been crushed. So let's take a look at the first one, that Bitcoin is not able to be used as a medium of exchange. So here's how the argument goes. Basically, Bitcoin is designed to favor security over anything else. And so when a Bitcoin transaction is made, it basically has to be verified on the network that real Bitcoin is leaving this address and going over to this address. The larger the Bitcoin network grows and the more usage that Bitcoin has, the more computing power this takes, which means that using Bitcoin, especially for smaller transactions, can become very slow as the network gets congested and can become expensive, to the point where when you look at the number of transactions, digital transactions that happen around the world on a daily basis, if you were to look at what would happen to the Bitcoin network if all of those transactions were taking place in Bitcoin, it's basically impossible. This is the express reason why some other cryptocurrencies have come out, because they've been coming out and saying, hey, we're just like Bitcoin, except we don't favor security as much. We favor speed and we favor low-cost transactions more. And so we can be a true medium of exchange here because you can scale us up and we're not too slow or cost prohibitive in order to take over every single transaction that happens to the world in the world on a daily basis. Now, the downside to that is obviously you're not favoring security. These cryptocurrencies are much easier to perform things like 51% attacks on, and they all tend towards extreme centralization, which leads to centralized entities having basically full control over what happens on the network and changing the rules as it fits them. And so you might be looking at both of these choices and saying, whichever alternative we choose, we're either sacrificing the security or we're paying too much. There's just not enough network capacity to support all the transactions that the world wants to have happen on a daily basis, so cryptocurrencies are dead in the water. Well, not so fast. Very early on, people started to recognize that Bitcoin wasn't scalable as itself being the medium of exchange. And rather than work on separate cryptocurrencies to replace it, many people started thinking about and working on second layers that are built on top of Bitcoin, treating Bitcoin as basically the settlement layer where the transactions happen on the second layer. And here's an example of what I mean by that. When you go to the store, you buy some food, you swipe your debit card. Let's say you've got your bank account at Chase. So when you swipe your debit card, money leaves your Chase account and goes into the store's, the grocery store's bank account. Now, what happens if that grocery store has their own bank account at Chase as well? Does any money ever move anywhere in the financial system? No, it stays at Chase. That money didn't have to leave somewhere and come back. Chase just made a note, an internal journal entry. Money moved from your account to the grocery store's account. Now, example 2, let's say you swipe your debit card, money leaves your Chase account, but the grocery store this time, they have their bank account with Bank of America. Now money has to leave your Chase account and go to Bank of America's account. Now, do you think that every time somebody swipes their debit card, Chase and Bank of America are actually sending money back and forth to each other? Not really. What is actually taking place is something called batch settlement, because you're not the only person making transactions. There are millions of people in businesses with accounts at Chase and millions of people in businesses with accounts at Bank of America. So let's say on one random day, Chase has $10 million worth of transactions leaving their bank accounts altogether and going over to Bank of America bank accounts. But at the same time, Bank of America has, let's say, $9 million worth of transactions leaving their bank accounts at Bank of America going over to Chase bank accounts. Is Chase going to send 10 million and Bank of America send 9 million? No. Chase is just going to send 1 million. And then all of the internal journal entries are made in order to show up the proper transactions. On net, it's still the same, but the only amount of money that moved was the net amount, the difference, the total. You don't have to send 10 over and 9 back, just send 1 over and make the journal entries. Now, obviously, this is an extremely simplistic explanation, doesn't actually work out like this exactly in practice, but this is essentially what the Lightning Network does to Bitcoin. Instead of having every single small transaction for buying a cup of coffee or a slice of pizza happen on chain and congest the Bitcoin network with high fees and slowing it down, these transactions can happen on the Lightning Network and then they're batch settled on the Bitcoin blockchain. Now, the first white paper for the Lightning Network came out in 2015, and so this isn't anything new. But what is new and what is recent is usage of the Lightning Network. There's a great article about this on Mises.org. I'm going to link it in the description below. But the author says that recently he was in New Hampshire at the Libertarian Pork Fest, and they were talking about what's been going on in El Salvador, and they had just 2 weeks ago 20,000 near instant transactions with aggregate fees of $4.98. That's not per transaction, that's aggregate fees. All together, those 20,000 transactions, less than $5. It comes out to about 1/40th of a penny per transaction. And here's the key. It didn't matter what the size of that transaction was. Any of those transactions could have been a couple $100,000 down to just 50 cents. Lightning Network transactions are essentially instant, and they're basically free, especially when you compare them against modern transaction costs. Every time you swipe a credit card, guess how much that costs the merchant that is actually passed on to you in built into the price? About 3%, which means that using the Lightning Network for payments turns Bitcoin into an instant payment that settles instantly, and it's about 4,000 times cheaper than a credit card. If we take a look here at these charts of Lightning Network nodes and the network capacity, on the bottom chart here, the blue line is the Bitcoin price, the orange line is the network capacity, and on the above chart is the number of network nodes. You can see here that the amount of usage and the capacity of the Lightning Network has only been growing, and it's been increasingly so at an exponential rate. In fact, the Lightning Network is specifically the innovation that allowed El Salvador to recently declare Bitcoin legal tender in its country and mandate its use for all merchants who have the technical capabilities to do so. Now, again, I need to reiterate, the explosive growth of the Lightning Network, which turns Bitcoin into a usable medium of exchange, scalable to the extent where it could feasibly be used for every single transaction that happens around the world on a daily basis, instantly settling in Bitcoin and cheaper than current payments like credit cards. This isn't necessarily a bullish argument for Bitcoin, because it still rests on people adopting Bitcoin as their money. What this does, though, is it knocks the legs out from under the argument that Bitcoin cannot be used as a medium of exchange, therefore can't become money in the future. Because with the Lightning Network, it clearly can, and slowly, quietly, is becoming more and more of that every single day. All right, the second argument that has been thrown at Bitcoin has basically been that China controls Bitcoin because over 50% of the Bitcoin mining network is done in China. And anybody who has ever thought that is true just actually doesn't understand the way the technology works. And that's been proven because recently, over the past couple of months, China outlawed Bitcoin mining, and over 50% of Bitcoin miners dropped off the network. China effectively shut down all Bitcoin mining in their entire country. And guess what happened? Nothing. There were no lawsuits. There were no bankruptcies. There were no bailouts. There was no financial system collapse. There was no cryptocurrency financial system collapse. The Bitcoin network, the miners adjusted. The way that the protocols work, the way that the rules work, is that it adjusted the difficulty of mining to make it much easier, which means that anybody who's still mining just got a big pay raise, instantly increasing the incentive for anybody else in the world who wants to start mining to start doing so. Built-in, automated, systematic rules that govern how the network operates. And guess what? It worked. It kept on running. Bitcoin didn't go to zero. Bitcoin still exists. Bitcoin is still being purchased. Bitcoin is still being sold. Bitcoin is still being transferred from one to another. And even though 54% of miners were pretty much shut down in the course of a couple weeks, couple of months, it effectively had no impact on the network. Now, you could argue that it had an impact on the price fall from its record high to about 35, where it's at right now, but you could also argue against that. So nobody's making the argument anymore that China controls Bitcoin because now nobody in China mines Bitcoin. And it does a couple other things that show that Bitcoin has some anti-fragile properties to it, because this was a big attack against the network and it did nothing. It also increased the incentive for anybody else around the world to start mining. Other countries have recently said that they can see the footprint of large miners on their grid, and they're going to start taxing miners or trying to shut them down, which incentivizes clean, renewable energy to be used for Bitcoin mining that is off-grid. And finally, what this shows is that while a country can try to remove Bitcoin or mining from their own country, it doesn't do anything to the overall Bitcoin network around the world. Because as any country tries to shut Bitcoin down in their country, what it does is it increases the incentives for that mining or that wealth to go elsewhere where it's welcomed. And so ultimately what anybody is doing by trying to shut down Bitcoin in their own country is just shooting themselves in the foot, which is why India recently backtracked on their Bitcoin ban. So ultimately, these are not bullish arguments for Bitcoin. In this video, I'm not making arguments that Bitcoin is going to succeed, that it's going to go up in the future, or that it will be fully adopted as money everywhere for everybody. But these are two big arguments that have historically been used against Bitcoin. They've just been crushed. And finally, if you're looking for the best way to accumulate Bitcoin, my favorite way to do it is to dollar cost average, or as the industry likes to say, stack sats. And my favorite platform to do that is Swan Bitcoin, because they allow you to do daily purchases as little as $10 a day. And so you can take advantage of the volatility as the price swings up and swings down. You buy more when it's lower, buy less when it's higher, because you're doing a consistent dollar amount on a consistent time frame. You can completely automate that process, even to the point of automating withdrawals to a wallet, whether it's a software wallet or a cold storage hardware wallet of your choice. If you use my link in the description below for Swan, you get $10 worth of Bitcoin as a bonus for signing up. As always, I really appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day.